Hello and welcome to Cardinal Clips. My name is Kathy Leadham, Superintendent for the Willmar Public Schools, and we're really pleased that you're joining us for this program, which is designed to acquaint you with the people and the programs that make up your school system. This particular edition of Cardinal Clips is devoted to the Cardinal Pride Hall of Fame inductees during homecoming week for the 2007-2008 school year. This is one of our favorite programs where we have an opportunity to reminisce with people who have been very, very successful in their careers here in the Willmar Public Schools. It really is fun to learn through their eyes what their experiences were all about throughout their years at the Willmar Senior High School. So stay with us as you'll have a chance to meet 4 outstanding individuals who've been honored in the Willmar schools this year.
Let's start with Bob Anderstrom. Bob graduated from Willmar High School in 1955. He had many basketball honors, conference, and regions. He was a dominant 3-year basketball player at the Cardinal center position. That in turn helped the Willmar Cardinals win 3 consecutive West Central Conference basketball championships. He had a trip to the 1954 state tournament. Bob was the first Willmar High School 100 career scorer. He has 1,364 points, stood for the test of time for 29 years before it was broken. He has now been in second place for 24 years. In football, he again was a 3-time letter winner, had all West Central Conference and state honors. Baseball, he was a 3-time letter winner, and track a letter winner. Bob was offered scholarships by the football, basketball, and baseball departments of the University of Minnesota. He chose the basketball scholarship and went on to start hard at the time and earned 2 letters. He graduated with a business administration degree in 1960. He worked for Northwestern National Bank as a credit analyst and loan officer for 7 years, and he owns his own business. He's married to Pat, has 1 daughter, Leslie. He now lives in Minneapolis area and enjoys anything outdoors, hunting, fishing, golf, and camping. Bob Anderstrom.
Our first Hall of Fame inductee for the 2007-2008 school year is Bob Anderstrom. And Bob, we're so pleased that you're here, and congratulations for being inducted into our Cardinal Pride Hall of Fame. Welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and it's fun to get back into a high school auditorium and listen to a pep band that really knows what they're doing. I wish we'd had one that was that accomplished when I was going to school.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Our pep band and our marching band, and in fact our entire music program, is very, very strong, and probably a part of that legacy that is just so prevalent in the Willmar Public Schools. As I visit with graduates like you, and as we reminisce in conversation about experiences here in the Willmar Public Schools, it seems that there has been quite a rich history of excellence and support for students and programs. And certainly your experience is indicative of that. Bob, you graduated in 1955. And now a classmate nominated you to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and here you are. So in addition to being sort of fun to get back in a school setting, what does this mean to you?
Dewey Aldridge is an old classmate and an old friend of mine, and he took on the task of trying to make me look good enough so that the committee that considers the inductees into the Hall of Fame would consider me favorably. And apparently he did a good job, because he was ably assisted by Clint Ryerson, who was in the class ahead of us and worked for the Tribune for some number of years. And all in all, it's just been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of reminiscing, and looking forward to more of it tonight when we attend the football game and the banquet.
Well, as I have read through your resume and recognized your accomplishments, I think that Dwayne had a lot of material to work with. You really were a very accomplished athlete in your time here in the Willmar Senior High School. You excelled in football, basketball, certainly in baseball, and you also lettered in track. What happened in your life to make you so involved and so proficient in so many sports?
Probably the primary reason for my success is just in the genes. You'd like to take full credit for the things you accomplish, but really a lot of it is just God-given talent. And then you try to make the best of what you have with good practice habits. And probably the most important thing for me in the success that I did have was I had terrific coaches. Bill Hansen in football, Ace Hoberg in basketball, and Howard Iverson in baseball. Track was kind of almost an addendum. I didn't have anything to do when I was a freshman, and I happened to have a ability to throw the discus, so I was fortunate enough to get a letter there. But after that, they decided that you had to choose between track and baseball, and I guess baseball was my first love.
Well, as you were growing up, let's just say in your elementary school years and junior high, did you already know at that time that you were going to be very involved in sports, and did you start developing that innate talent early on?
Back when I was in grade school, our organized program was a bunch of us kids getting together on Saturdays in a vacant lot and choosing up sides. The choosing up sides took place during the morning. Then we went home for lunch and then came back in the afternoon and played the game. But I think you learned to compromise in those sessions. But the kids these days really have a great advantage in having such good equipment and superior coaching even at a young age. But for me, these things just kind of seemed to come natural, and I'd always had a really intense interest in sports. So being able to play it in addition to having observed it for years was a real blessing.
Well, it's clear that from a very early age you enjoyed just being a part of these team sports and being with your buddies and certainly learning the skills of these various sports at the same time. Let's start with football. Tell us a little bit about some of your favorite memories when it comes to playing football for the Willmar Cardinals.
Strange as it may sound, football was probably my favorite high school sport. I, by nature, liked the contact and the competitiveness that goes into football. And having Bill Hansen for a coach was a real plus. He had great enthusiasm. He was a man of great integrity, and all of that, I think, produced a strong desire to excel.
Well, as I have had the privilege of visiting with Hall of Fame inductees over the years, certainly Bill Hansen's name has come up in just the exact way that you are describing him countless times, so certainly quite a remarkable legend in many, many ways. When you think about all that time out on a football field, does any particular game or memory from a game come to mind?
I think the one I remember most was the last one. We were undefeated and hadn't been scored on our home field, and we were playing Morris for the championship. They I think they had one loss at the time we went up to Morris, and I was fortunate enough to catch about a 60-yard catch and run pass to get us our first 6 points, and we unfortunately missed the extra point, which would come into play a little later. But the thing that really sticks out in my mind in that game is I had a chance to win that thing twice. The first chance was late in the game when I had the quarterback for Morris cornered, and just as I was going to tackle him, I got knocked off the tackle by one of my own guys, and I've never forgiven him for that. The second opportunity was kind of a Hail Mary pass, and I turned one way and lost it in the lights and turned the other way, and it bounced off my hands, and I just could have killed myself because it was really would have been just a routine catch, but didn't quite get a beat on it. So I do remember the failures almost as much as the success in football.
Well, it just goes to show how some of those things stay with you for years, right down to sort of all the intricate nuances of what actually occurred during one of those games of such intensity. How about basketball? Obviously an area where you excelled. I understand you developed hook shots from all angles and really had quite a skill set when it comes to the game of basketball. Talk to us a little bit about that.
A lot of credit for that has to go to Ace Hoberg, who was our basketball coach during the time I was in high school. He was a retired Navy captain, and he was big on discipline. And for whatever reasons, he seemed to recognize something in myself that could be developed. And after the practices were over, he made me stay and worked on hook shots and positioning for rebounds. And we had a little kid that used to show up once in a while that was about 2 feet high, and he'd have the little kid hold his hand up, showing where the bottom of my feet were. And if they weren't high enough, Ace would tell me I got to jump a little bit higher. And he'd make me do push-ups on my fingers. At the time, I thought maybe there's something else I'd rather be doing, but in the long run, it turned out to be very beneficial.
This is the second time now you've mentioned a very pivotal coach in your life. And of course, that comes about when someone excels in any of our various sporting areas. In addition to working with you on skills, what else did you learn from your coaches just about life in general? Because so often that goes hand in hand. When people are really devoted to athletes, they try to impart much more beyond the skills of the game.
Ace and I think, developed a very close relationship, and he would at times just impart a little philosophy to me, for me, and help me keep me grounded. And when things are really going great, I can remember him telling me that he'd say, Bob, when you're all done with athletics, when you balance the good things that happen to you against the bad things, he says, you'll be lucky to come out even. And he said, you'll also find that you'll always run into somebody else that's better than you, and being able to handle that, cope with that, is all part of the process of becoming a better person.
Clearly, life's lessons that play out during those high school years. Baseball obviously was another sport that you were very enthused about. Talk to us a little bit about that game in your life.
Oh, yeah, we were done with basketball, and we were anxious to get started with baseball, and it'd probably be 45, and we'd degrees outside. We'd say to Ivor, should we get going? He says, boys, until it gets above 55, we're not going to have anything to do with baseball. Why don't you go down to the pool hall and shoot a little pool? And that we would do. And it warmed up soon enough, so we got plenty of baseball by the time the season was over.
Well, see, now that was an example of developing sort of the team spirit prior to getting out there on the baseball field. When you graduated in 1955, you had lots of opportunities. The University of Minnesota offered you scholarships in football, basketball, baseball, and obviously you went to the university, became a Golden Gopher. What sport ultimately drove you there?
Basketball. I think I've mentioned this story before, but I considered football, and as a freshman during orientation week, I thought, well, maybe I'll go down and look it over. So I went down to the training room in football, and I opened up the door that led to the training room, and all I saw was this back that was about 3 feet across. And the back must have weighed about 230 pounds, and I very quietly closed the door and decided football wasn't my game. The fellow that I had observed there was, his name was Tom Brown, and he later became an All-American guard. So he gave me a quick lesson on what not to do.
So after that experience, I think you ultimately decided on basketball. What would you say to sum up your whole basketball experience at the U of M where you excelled as well?
I think I have to be careful here because I wouldn't want to put down coaches at that level, but I was really disappointed, I guess, in the quality of instruction and even the character of the people I ran into at the U. Coming off of coaches like Bill Hansen, Ace Hoberg, and Howard Iverson, there was a lot of character there and a lot of expert coaching, and I guess I was disappointed in what I observed once I got to the U, in that pure knowledge of how to play the game was absent, at least on the basketball level, and I'm afraid it reflected in my career there. I lettered my sophomore and junior year, started probably half the time my junior year. And at the end of my junior year, I felt it just wasn't worth it. I didn't feel I was accomplishing what I should, and I had some disappointment in the quality of the coaching there.
Well, that example alone sort of reinforces this solid experience that you had in the Willmar Public Schools. And again, what an eloquent tribute you have made today to the coaches that were such a significant part of your life. I can just tell it was a very, very meaningful experience here. So all this great athletic opportunity throughout all of your growing up years, what have you been doing since college, Bob?
After finishing at the U in business administration, I went to work for what is now Wells Fargo. At that time, it was Northwestern Bank. And I worked there for several years as a credit analyst and as a loan officer, but I've always wanted to be self-employed, so I ended up starting a ski shop, and eventually it became two, and I stayed in the retail ski shop business for about 20 years before I sold out. And I also had acquired rental properties, so I was one of these landlords you read about. No, hopefully not what you read about, but it is an experience dealing with rental properties. And I also became interested in investing, and I still pretty much do investing in stocks and other financial instruments that I think I can maybe turn a buck in.
Well, clearly success has its imprint all over your life, both in athletics and in other endeavors as well. And it really just is such a pleasure meeting you and visiting with you and just getting your perspective as you reflect on your time in the Willmar Public Schools. What kind of advice would you give for someone that's in junior high or maybe a freshman or sophomore in high school today? When you look back at your experience, what would you tell someone that would provide them with a lot of sage wisdom?
One of the things I've noticed among kids, both grade school, junior high, and in high school, is that there's a lot of pressure on them to make a quick decision as to what direction they want to go in life. And I know and I'm not going to use this as an example, but after 4 years of college, I walked out and didn't have a clue as to what I want to do. But those things seem to take care of themselves. I think the important thing is to try to get good grades so that the avenues will at least be open to you and let you have some options as to which direction you want to go. But I don't think you should be in such a hurry to make a decision that early. Enjoy being a student. Enjoy the activities that come with being in junior high and high school, and the choice will come to you. It may not be obvious to you right away, but these things have a way of manifesting themselves.
Well, Fabulous advice, and I thank you for sharing that bit of wisdom with our audience as well. It's been a pleasure visiting with you, Bob. Once again, congratulations on being inducted into our Cardinal Pride Hall of Fame. We continue to be very proud of your accomplishments and are so thrilled that our students today are becoming acquainted with the legacy that was established here in Willmar prior to their entering their high school years. So again, congratulations and best wishes to you.
Thank you very much. It's been a great experience coming back here and enjoying the Pep Fest, and I just have forgotten how much energy there is in a high school hall, and it was breathtaking today. But I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I'm looking forward to the banquet and the football game tonight, and go Cardinals.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, and we hope you'll stay with us because coming up next, another Cardinal Pride Hall of Fame inductee.